Hello, folks. My name is Kevin Douglas Berg. I'm here to provoke thought and move humanity just a little bit. The power's out here, so we're gonna do this a little differently. I have a new playlist. It's called Our Path, How We Got Here. Basically, our path to possibly World War III. And it goes through Putin's quotes. And I went all the way back to 2022. And now I'm going to talk about what was discussed in 2021, was things that were called the Putin's papers. And this is where he was at, man. This is exactly what he was thinking, exactly what he had in mind, exactly what was going on. So here we go. In 2021, a significant event unfolded that involved Russia and its relations with the United States and NATO. The Russian government, led by President Vladimir Putin, presented a set of documents to the U.S., NATO, and Organization for Security and Cooperation in Europe, anagram OSCE. These documents, often referred to as Putin's papers, were essentially an ultimatum outlining Russia's demands and expectations concerning the security situation in Europe, particularly regarding the ongoing conflict in Ukraine and the potential expansion of NATO. To put it simply, Russia was asking for several things: a guarantee that NATO would not admit any new members, especially Ukraine and Georgia, no additional deployment of troops or weapons in the current NATO member states, a revision of the NATO-Russian Founding Act, which is an agreement that outlines military activities and a cooperation between NATO and Russia, a moratorium on the deployment of certain types of missiles in Europe, a reform of the OSCE to make it more effective in addressing security challenges. The demands were seen as a way for Russia to exert pressure on Western countries and reflected its dissatisfaction with the current security arrangements in Europe. However, these proposals were met with skepticism and rejection by the U.S., NATO, and the Organization for Security and Cooperation in Europe, OSCE anagram. They viewed the demands as unrealistic and incompatible with the principles of the Euro-Atlantic security. The rejection of these demands were followed by the Russian invasion of Ukraine in February 2022. This situation highlighted the complex and often tense relationship between Russia and the Western countries, and it raised concerns about the stability and security of the entire European region. The reaction of NATO and the United States to the documents presented by Russia in December 2021, commonly referred to as the Putin Papers, was one of the Putin Papers was one of skepticism and rejection. The proposals viewed as unrealistic, unacceptable, conflicting with the principles and values of Euro-Atlantic security. The demands included a legally binding agreement that NATO would not admit new members such as Ukraine and Georgia, and that would not deploy additional troops or weapons in existing member states. NATO and U.S. saw these demands as an attempt by Russia to dictate terms and influence NATO's policies, which was not agreeable to alliance members. You got to think, weren't they doing the same thing with Russia this whole complete time? You look at the quotes, wasn't everybody in everybody else's shit? So you would want to call the shot. You try. NATO's stance has always been to maintain open door policy, bullshit. And the idea of allowing Russia to dictate who can join the alliance was not something the member states could accept. More bullshit. Sorry, not more bullshit. It's a philosophy that NATO is NATO, and they'll do whatever the fuck they want. Take that to the bank. IMF bank, man. Additionally, the demand to not deploy forces or weapons in countries that joined NATO after May 1997 was seen as a non-starter. We're putting shit right there. Not thousands of miles away. We were just putting shit right the hell there. Non-starter, especially given the changed security environment after Russia's annexation of Crimea. We spoke about that. The U.S. and NATO reaffirmed their support for Ukraine's sovereignty and territorial integrity and stressed their readiness to defend themselves and their allies against any potential aggression. Who's being the aggressors here? The overall response was to uphold to the right to self-defense and commitment to dialogue and diplomacy to resolve the crisis peacefully. Russia's reaction to the rejection of its demands by NATO and the United States in December 2021, one of defiance and implied threats. After the U.S. and NATO dismissed the Russian ultimatum, which sought to limit NATO's expansion and military presence in Eastern Europe, Russia responded with a mix of diplomatic and military signals. Don't forget, we practice there all the time, every year. Massive practicing. Military, Navy, you name it. On the diplomatic front, Russia expressed disappointment and accused of West of ignoring its security concerns. The Russian Ministry of Foreign Affairs took the unusual step of publicly releasing the draft agreements it proposed to the U.S. and NATO, which has been seen as an attempt to sway public opinion and portray the West as uncooperative. Militarily, President Vladimir Putin warned of a military technical response to the rejection, which was widely interpreted as a threat of potential military action. This is particularly concerning given the buildup of Russian military forces near Ukraine's border at the time. The situation was tense, with Russia asserting that the West's refusal to meet its demands left little room for negotiation and compromise. This standoff contributed to the escalation of tensions in the region, eventually leading to the Russian invasion of Ukraine in February 2022. The events of December 2021, the subsequent invasion of Ukraine, have had far-reaching implications for international security and geopolitical landscape, highlighting the fragility of peace and the complexity of international diplomacy. The rejection of Putin's papers and Russia's response underscored the deep divisions between Russia and the West, setting the stage for a prolonged conflict with global repercussions. That's Putin's papers. Basically, NATO would not admit new members, Ukraine and Georgia, no additional deployment, troops, or weapons in the current NATO states, revision of the NATO-Russian Founding Act, agreement that outlines the military activities and cooperation between NATO and Russia. He wanted to practice with them. He wanted some kind of cooperation. I don't think he's a hero. I'm not standing up for him. I'm just giving you the facts of what he wanted and what happened. Antagonist, protagonist, provoker, non-provoker. That's not how you look at the data. You look at what's happened. And you look at what's been happening since we got involved. A moratorium on the deployment of certain types of missiles in Europe, as well as a reform of the Organization for Security and Cooperation in Europe to make it more effective in addressing security challenges. That's why we are where we are right now. Oh, excuse me. We are using our military, our armament, our defense forces, our systems, our technology to bomb Russian cities now. Anybody in the right fucking mind would understand this is not going to be good. Shivers. We want to put missiles right on their borders. In the borders of these NATO states. We had a real problem with Cuba trying to do that, didn't we? Yeah. And like Putin said, they don't have any other place to go. So NATO encroaches, or non-encroaches, however you want to look at it, because the states did, say we want to be NATO, not want to be NATO. But now, why do you think it went? Why do you think he's buddies with China? Why do you think it went to North Korea? Why do you think the president of India is going to visit Modi? He's creating alliances. China and India have kept out of this completely. Still. But we know who China sides with. India's going to side with probably most likely Russia too. They do a lot of trading together. My name's Kevin Douglas Berg. This was our sixth installment of how we got here. In Putin's words, that was about Putin's papers. I'm gonna print it up and I'll have the link right below. Don't worry. My name's Kevin Douglas Berg. This is What Was His Saying Blog KDB, and with that we prayed out. Pray for you, pray for me, pray for world peace, pray for those people coming and going, pray for those on the plane, train, automobile, pray for those that are in and out of the hospital want a better day. Pray for everybody that is serving, post-serving, fighting with PTSD. Pray for everybody in uniform. Pray for everybody, first responder. Pray for everybody, policemen, policewomen, rescue, paramedics, firemen, firewomen, as well as you and me in world peace. And pray for those that do not have the necessities to live, such as clean water, food, shelter, home, places to clean up, and places to get looked at medically, that tomorrow is a better day than it is today. Pray that we have more nourishment and more food tomorrow than is a better day. Pray for you and me, world peace. My name is Kevin Douglas Berg. This is What Was I Saying Blog KDB. I'm here to provoke thought, moving me just a little bit. Coming out. Thank you.